What's going on, everybody? Good evening. In today's video, we're going to do a little discussion. I'm going to follow up with what I said like a week ago. I made this video right here about my top 10 hopes for the alleged yet unannounced Final Fantasy IX remake. If any of you know me, if you've been following my channel for any amount of time, you know that Final Fantasy IX is not only my favorite Final Fantasy, but it's my favorite game of all time. And so this idea of a remake that's been floating around for years now, it makes me a little uneasy. But I said I would read your guys' comments because it's a very important discussion to me, and that we would kind of talk about it in another video. So that's what we're doing tonight. So thanks for joining. And this is just free form. I'm just sort of flying by the seat of my pants here. It's unscripted, so bear with me. I am just recovering from being sick as well, so I might have a coughing fit halfway through. So we'll see how this goes. But what I do have to say, if you watched the other video, you know I was pretty much like, I just want like a one-to-one remaster, and that's pretty much it. I still stick to that for the most part, because you guys have opened my eyes a little bit. You've opened my mind to some things with your comments, because yeah, like there's some ideas that you guys threw around that made me think, made me reconsider a few things. So let's dive right in. If you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that now. Ring the notification bell, because we are currently on the channel playing through Final Fantasy IX Remake. We're doing FF9 with mods on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays for the stream. So subscribe so you can check that out as well. But let's go ahead and dive in and see what we got here. Where the heck did I put those comments? Here we go. Okay. First, there was a bundle of comments that pretty much all had the same concept, and you guys aren't wrong. Ice Howl said, so the TLDR is you don't want them to remake the game, you just want to remaster. I had to look up what TLDR meant because I'm an old dude. Here's what it means, I guess. But Mage 1 over 137 said, so what you mean to say is that they need to re-release Final Fantasy IX Remastered, a game that has released on every modern console. Borakuruku 1510, you can play the original instead of the new version, bro. I mean, you're not wrong. Zack Snyder 7340, dude, the game you're describing already exists. You guys are correct. And that's kind of my point of my previous video, is like, do I even want a remake or a remaster? I don't know. I really don't. This could go many different directions, and I'm not sure how I feel still. So you guys are right. But you make a good point. You know, no matter what happens, the original is always there. And that brings me comfort. That makes me a little more brave to like open my mind up to some new possibilities here, and to sort of absorb some different opinions properly. So thank you for that. MJ Buffalo 716 though, I hope most of your hopes aren't brought to life. This is a good comment and makes a very good point with anything like this. Somebody's going to be left out in the cold, right? If this is a Final Fantasy VII remake situation where it's a complete reimagining, I'm going to be pissed a little bit, I think. But if it's what I want, and it's pretty much a one-to-one remaster, there's definitely going to be that crowd that's like, oh, this could have been so much more. So MJ Buffalo's right. Like, there's not going to be just all winners. There's going to be some people that lose with this situation, and that's something to think about. Zion Steele, my heart jumps every time I see a video talking about the remake leaks, since info on this comes and goes with enough time in between to make you think you just dreamt it. That is a great description, by the way. That's so true. It is by far my favorite Final Fantasy, and it's one I like to go back on from time to time due to its more classic roots when 7 and 8 went more futuristic. In other words, I just like the way it looks, and I wouldn't want that changed too much. Absolutely. I love 7 and 8, by the way. 8's probably my second favorite Final Fantasy after 9. I have no problem with their like futuristic themes, but I'm with you. My roots are with old school medieval fantasy, and what did you say? It was perfectly stated. I just like the way it looks, and I don't want that changed too much. Yes, they've got to nail that art style. They've got to nail that feel. From there, sure, we can maybe go in some other directions. Vandal Heart 26. Why do they... That's a cool name, by the way. Why do they have to remake Final Fantasy IX anyway? It's a wonderful game, but I cannot see it as a remake. A good HD remaster would be more than enough, like in the footage shown in this video with crisp and sharp character models. So they're referring to the playthrough we're doing on stream right now with the mods. Clean background, 60 FPS, plus a few quality of life additions. Maybe even a reorchestrated soundtrack like they did with the Pixel remasters. Absolutely. In my opinion, 8 would... Okay, here we go. In my opinion, 8 would make a better game, would be suited better for a ground-up remake with full 3D visuals in similar manner as they did with FF7. It would be greatly benefited from that style, plus they could work on the game's weak spots. Yeah, like story, character development, junction, battle mechanics, level up system. I agree. I mean, again, I'm very protective of like Final Fantasy IX, but Final Fantasy VIII, as much as I adore that game in its current state anyway, I guess the better way to say it for me is I would feel more comfortable with them tweaking Final Fantasy VIII and kind of messing with it more than 9. John Sizlak said, I don't see any reason this masterpiece needs to be remade. The only change I would make is to remove the time limit to get Excalibur 2. Yes, yes, yes. I'm sad to say, he says, make it a proper side quest for that. That's the one thing I haven't done in 9, so technically I haven't 100%ed the game. You have to beat the game in 12 hours to get Excalibur 2. That is not happening. Ain't nobody got time for that. I hate that. So I've never gotten Excalibur 2, but this is a great suggestion. DBT Gamer. Okay, this comment right here. Okay, right here. This thing is loaded. We got to unpack this. First of all, he says, good video. Thank you for that. Appreciate that, my friend. I agree with a lot of things you said. I wish Beatrix was playable. Okay. I had to think about this, because that's a big change. But I think you're right. Beatrix is a fan favorite. We all love Beatrix, and we all need to see more Beatrix. We really don't know much about her backstory and stuff. And I would be totally cool with this. This is a really good example of something I mentioned in my last video, and that is the example of Beatrix being playable and expanded upon a little bit is enhancing the story that's already there. All that stuff, for all we know, happens behind the scenes. We just don't play it in the original. It would enhance and bring forward some of the stuff that's already there rather than changing something or adding something new that wasn't there. Does that make sense? So this is a really good example, and upon thinking about it, yeah, Beatrix playable, give it to me. Give me all the Beatrix. Lost content is always a plus, for sure. We talked about that in the other video. Okay, this one, I'm going to try not to go on a tangent. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bravely Default 2 on Nintendo Switch had 3D character models and on a 2D background. If I'm not mistaken, all the Bravely Default games do this. This art style works well as long as the character models are not too small. In Final Fantasy VII, I remember losing track of characters and doorways. That's a good point. But back to the Bravely Default thing, I kid you not, this is a true story. When it was first announced, Bravely Default for the 3DS, and I saw that game, my first thought was, holy crap, this is Final Fantasy IX. This is the magic I've been missing all these years. This is basically what I want. This is Final Fantasy IX. It looks like it. The music was incredible. It sounds like it. Those backgrounds are gorgeous, just like DBT Gamer is saying. But how do I talk about this without going off on a huge tangent? Maybe I'll do a whole video about Bravely Default. That's probably a good idea. In short, I freaking hated Bravely Default. Oh, it was so bad. It started good, but if you've played Bravely Default 1, I don't think I gave 2 or 3 the light of day after what 1 did to me, but if you've played 1 and you remember that second half of the game, it's like the last quarter of the game. There's some pretty cool plot twists actually, but then there's this thing that happens on repeat for a while. I won't spoil anything, but it's awful. It seriously ruined the entire game for me, and I can't talk about that game without getting angry. That means I need to make a video about it. We'll do that. JM3600. Final Fantasy IX Remake featuring SpongeBob SquarePants as Vivi in 4K action-based real-time combat system. Sure. I'd play that. Aaron Aaron, it's Aaron O'Neill. I was trying to mush all that together. Aaron O'Neill says, I hope we get Final Fantasy IX, Kingdom Hearts 5, with the multiverse storyline that culminates with our hero waking up and realizing it was all a dream. Oh, Aaron O'Neill watched my other video. He's trolling me. And I kind of like it. Well played. We got to do a slow clap. Well played for that one. Surgeroth Games. I loved the original. It has always been my favorite game ever. Good taste, sir. However, I would be happy to see it in a more remake style, to be able to re-experience the story from a different perspective, so that the game can surprise me again. This is not to say that I wouldn't love a one-to-one remaster, but I'll just be happy if they simply re-release it at all. Good point there at the end. I'll be happy for anything at this point. But this one made me think. This one really made me think, because I have a lot of memories with Final Fantasy IX, obviously, and the way you phrased it made me go like this. You said, to be able to re-experience the story from a different perspective so that the game can surprise me again. I kind of love that. I think we've all, at least once in our lives, thought of that video game, movie, book that we were like, I wish I could delete it from my memory so I could re-experience the joy of it for the first time again. I think we've all thought that about something at some point. Yeah, I mean, this could be that. To my point earlier, and to you guys' points earlier, we have the original. We can play it anytime, and especially we can play it modded now. So it's fantastic. It's basically a remake already. So would it be a wasted opportunity if we don't just reimagine it? I still don't like the idea as much as the former, but it made me think. ELG Hunter X. Final Fantasy IX is my favorite of all time, but I do want a complete remake, so another one of these. A remaster would be wasting the game's potential and would definitely categorize the game behind 7, when it's superior in every way, and a full remake is the only way to do so. I like the way you think. Final Fantasy IX is superior in every way. It's a scientific fact. But yeah, this is a way to bring out its full potential. That's true. Yes to the voice acting, because I would love to hear Jesse McCartney play Zidane. Jesse McCartney. Who the heck is Jesse McCartney? Hold on. Who's Jesse McCartney? And a full remake is the best way to solve the pacing issues in the story and restructure the dullest points in the story, like the Conde Piti and Maiden Sari. Garden's origin story can be told without the need to seek ingredients to cook his new stew. I liked that part. That part's kind of charming. And perhaps add a thing or two to do in the Lost Continent, because there's not much to see there and it feels like a waste of opportunities. So yeah, the theme of this one is wasted opportunity, which is kind of a good point. Maybe a better way to put it for me would be there's a lot of potential opportunity in reimagining it, right? Jason Bryant. I recently played the game with the Moguri mod. Excellent. It was gorgeous. If they did remaster that, used pre-rendered backgrounds and 3D characters again, the only thing that could actually improve is the overworld. That's just not a big enough difference to justify all that work. As long as we can get the original game and upgrade it with the mod, I'm okay with the remake. I was actually pretty bitter about the FF7 remake while it was in development, until I found out that you could get the original on PC and mod it. So kind of the same point reiterated, right? We'll have the original all the time, so we don't need to stress too much. But something I do really like that you said, looking at the original game, the overworld, the world map, man, can you imagine that? If they did like remake the game but kept the old template where it was still like a traditional JRPG with a world map, can you imagine what that world map would look like with modern graphics? That does make me salivate a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. Oh, especially with all the mist and stuff. The airships, how they're like flying around all the time, like, oh my gosh. You got me thinking, Jason Bryant. You got me thinking. Tom McCarthy says, it ain't happening and doesn't exist, buddy boy. It already came out publicly and implied that if they did it, it would pull a Rebirth. The fan base just wants a glow up to the original, but they aren't going to do that. Gonna have to stick with the Moguri mod and hope that Project Memoria becomes something. Couple things on this. Project Memoria won't become anything. Square Enix would shoot that in the backyard before they could do anything with it, trust me. But as far as the first thing that you said, it ain't happening, like they've confirmed it, that's not true. I'm pretty sure that's not true. I've done my due diligence. I've researched quite a bit on Final Fantasy IX. I've scoured the internet. Kind of to support your point, I guess, a little bit of a devil's advocate. There is strong evidence, let me say this, there is strong evidence that this remake is real, and I do believe it's real. But you're right, there's no proof yet. There's no proof. But on the reverse side, there's also no proof that it isn't happening either. Nobody's come out and said it, as far as I know. If you can provide the source, throw that in the comments. I'm going to read that real quick. But as far as I know, I'm pretty sure it has not been, like, unconfirmed. Like, there's more evidence for it existing than there is for it not. And this next comment kind of bleeds right into this. The Vangsta 9892 says, to those who say the FF9 remake isn't real, I can see them like standing on the street corner shouting this. Final Fantasy VI remake isn't real either. While I'm a fan of both games and would like for both of them to be remade, unfortunately 6 remake has already been debunked, as Square backed off, saying it'd take 20 plus years to remake FF6. This is true. This is very true. I remember that quote. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I remember reading that they're like, this is not a thing, guys. Like, we couldn't do it. By the way, the funny thing is last week, was it? This week? Last week? Dragon Quest HD 2D Remaster came out, and somebody mentioned in an interview, I can't remember who it was, what HD 2D remake like game would be next, maybe? And they're like, I would really love it if we could do this style for Final Fantasy VI. And they just kind of mentioned it casually, like, it's not an announcement. They just sort of mentioned how cool that would be. And the internet exploded. Everybody's like, Final Fantasy VI remake is happening! They're all talking about it! It's like, no, sorry. They're not. Like, that's not a thing. Sorry. But he continues to say, Final Fantasy IX remake hasn't necessarily been debunked yet. Yeah, that's what I was saying before. I know Yoshi P spoke about it and how he isn't involved with that project, but just because he said he isn't involved doesn't mean Final Fantasy IX remake has been debunked. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'll accept it isn't real once the year 2025 ends. If we go to the end of 2025 without a Final Fantasy IX remake or remaster announcement, I don't know if I could handle that. But yeah, I'm going to stand my ground and say there's far more evidence that it does exist than it doesn't, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Yeah, it's going to be a bummer, but until then, let's keep playing the Moguri mod, shall we? It's fantastic. Thank you so much, you guys, for watching. Thank you for commenting on the original video. I really do appreciate you guys' insights, comments, thoughts. I read them all, and I try to reply to them all. So thank you so much for participating in that. Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully we can keep this discourse going, because I'm going to go to the comments and read your thoughts on these thoughts. Please subscribe to the channel so that you can see all the videos coming out, of course. But again, I would love for you to join those weekly Monday, Wednesday, Friday streams, especially while we're playing Final Fantasy IX. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Appreciate it. Have an awesome evening. See you later. As usual, we need to give our channel fans a shout out. That's going to be Crazy Name, SL Rhodes, and B-Ledge. If you want to become a fan of the channel, simply head to the home page and click the join button right under the banner.